Ladies and gentlemen, the books is in. The books are in. Yep. They in. They're here.
Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards, available now on KofiPaisaTV.com.
ETM Hotel, Rennie, Sean, welcome in peace. My name is Sean. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Science with Sean. I'm going to be brief, not long. I just want to get this build in today for anybody that's listening, anyone who catch the replay. Please like the show, share the show, tell a friend, we're in the building. And I appreciate everybody that show up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I don't want to be too brief. I know it's Saturday, people busy, they doing other things, they got other things going on. However, my screen should be sharing. Yep. So let's get right into the bill. All right, so what is scientific evidence? All right. Let's get into it. So of course, I'm gonna give you my outline, intro, research questions, hypothesis, conclusion, the sources. But just from the onset of what scientific evidence is, there's an assumption that if something says something on social media, that is actually considered evidence. No cross-referencing, no additional research, just a simple Google search, and that's the conclusion based on whatever it is that supports your biased perspective. Well, this video was supposed to follow the first video that was defined what is science, right? So I wanted people to understand what science is first, and then understand what scientific evidence is behind that. And I think that this is crucial in your learning curve, in your development, and trying to understand how to disseminate information and come to an honest conclusion regarding the evidence that you have. Is this fact or is this fiction? And do you have supporting evidence that confirms the position of your source? What am I saying? I'm saying if you Google something like how to mop the floor, the correct way to mop the floor, right? And they're demonstrating how to properly mop the floor, and you just take that as such, and then somebody comes behind you and says, that's not the right way to mop the floor. You mop the floor this particular way. Why? And then they start to explain to you why. It's because this doesn't hurt the spine. This doesn't hurt your knees. This doesn't hurt your feet. This doesn't hurt your shoulders. This doesn't do this, that, and the third. And you say, hell no, I seen it on YouTube that they said this is this, or I pulled up a Google link and it said this is this. And then the person that is trying to show you a proper technique in order to alleviate any pain or potential future problems with your back or your shoulders, elbows, or whatever, or feet, you know, they tell you something else and then give you a rundown of where they're getting this particular information from. And all you got is, this link right here said I could just mop the floor like this. Then who's right in how to properly mop the floor? You're going to have supporting evidence for your argument in order for that initial search to be substantiated. Because what if there is a technique that prevents, you know, your back from hurting, prevents your knees from giving out or being weak, prevents your feet from hurting so long or whatever it could be? Like, why is that not considered? Why did we not consider those things in our initial research? Because we don't think to ask those questions until after the fact. Well, after the fact, when somebody comes behind you and then they start challenging why you're doing something a particular way. Like, how did you come to that conclusion? See what I'm saying? So someone went steps further than you did in your initial research in order to come to their conclusion on how to properly mop the floor. Out of that example in itself, right? Out of that example in itself, it gives you the whole problem with people understanding science and scientific evidence. Just in the example that I just gave you. So we're going to get into some real spill, man. And this is brief. It's not going to be long. And then I'm going to let y'all have your day. So I do appreciate people that's actually watching the live, and then those of you who will catch it on the replay. When we analyze data rather than written in an article with a catchy title or a journal, we need to know how to cross-reference what we are reading, but more importantly, comprehend what we are reading. This presentation sets out to help influence not only comprehension, but validate what is and what is not scientific evidence. So here's my hypothesis. Due to the current climate of social media and how misinformation runs rampant, I am of the belief that we really do not know how to properly disseminate what is and what is not scientific evidence. I believe this is due to the fact of how readily Google has been to our fingertips and our biases, but most importantly, our inability to focus, how to properly research, utilize research methods, and apply those tools to answer real-world questions to resolve real-world issues. So what is scientific evidence, and how can research methodology help determine scientific evidence? Again, I'm not sharing the show, so you know, if you like the show, you know, share the show with like-minded individuals, and hopefully we can build up you know, a holistic way, so to say. Definitions. So evidence in general means information, facts or data supporting or contradicting the claim, assumptions or hypotheses, like the use of evidence in legal settings. In fact, anything might count as evidence if it's judged to be valid, reliable, and relevant. When referring to evidence from the scientific literature, we mean the empirical studies published in peer-reviewed scholarly journals. In recent decades, much research has been published on topics directly relevant to management practice, such as motivating employees, managing mergers, using financial incentives, improving performance, and selecting and evaluating employees. Thus, when it comes to tackling these issues in practice, it is important to consider results from these studies. Types of scientific evidence. You have anecdotal and expert opinion anecdotal evidence, which is a person's own personal experience or view, not necessarily representative of typical experience, and an expert's standalone opinion, or that given in a written news article, are both considered weak forms of evidence without scientific studies to back them up. Then you have animal and cell studies, experimental. Now, animal research can be useful and can predict effects also seen in humans. However, observed effects can also differ. So subsequent human trials are required. Now, before a particular effect can be, I don't know why this slide looks like that, but Before a particular effect can be said to be seen in humans, test and isolate cells can also produce different results to those in the body. The next type of scientific evidence would be case reports and case series. All right. Now we're building a mountain here for evidence, with anecdotal being the bottom, being the lowest tier of evidence that we should ever, use. Okay. So case reports and case series, observational. A case report is a written record on a particular subject. Though low on the hierarchy of evidence, they can aid detection of disease or side effects of treatments. A case series is similar, but tracks multiply subjects. Both types of study cannot prove causation, only correlation. Case studies, observational, which is basically what I just said over there. So I blended it over on a while accident. But cohort studies, you may have heard me mention this in a conversation last night. I talked about cohort studies, which are observational. Now, cohort study is similar to a case study, okay, control case study. It involves selections of a group of people sharing certain characteristics of treatment, exposure to a chemical or compares them over time to a group of people who do not have this characteristic of treatment, noting any differences in outcomes. You will see a lot of scientific articles are written regarding cohort studies. You will see that even on CDC website, how they always introduce a cohort study. And then you have randomized controlled trials. We've been hearing a lot about that since the emergence of COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2/COVID-19, and that's been running rampant. So you have randomized controlled trials, which are experimental. Subjects are randomly assigned to a test group which receives the treatment, or a control group which commonly receives a placebo. In blind trials, participants do not know which group they are in. In double-blind trials, the experimenters do not know either. Blinding trials helps remove bias. So I just want to set the table right then and there. This is why you have randomized controlled trials. This is why the vaccine trials was essential in order to get to an honest conclusion, because they were double-blinded. People didn't know which group was in what. You didn't know who got the placebo and who did this. I mean, of course, somebody knew who was in the placebo group and somebody knew who was in that trials, but other people who may have been monitoring the trials, they had no idea. They're monitoring and studying the data, collecting the data and all of that, right? And then it's revealed when the blind comes off, it's then revealed. So again, these blinding trials prevent bias. And this is why we have those trials. This is why we ask those who say that herbs actually work against, prevent, or treat, or can prevent disease. Where is your double-blind, your randomized controlled trials that are blinded, so that we can see if this is actually a placebo, right? Or if this is actually really a solution to a novel issue that we have. Systemic reviews draw on multiple randomized controlled trials to draw their conclusion, and also take into consideration the quality of studies included. Reviews can help mitigate bias in individual studies and give us a more complete picture, making them the best form of evidence. Now, empirical evidence is the information obtained through observation and documentation of certain behavior and patterns, or through an experiment. Empirical evidence is a quintessential part of scientific method of research that is applicable in many disciplines. Empirical evidence is primarily obtained through observation or experimentation. The observation of experiments are known as primary sources. However, it can be also obtained through various secondary sources, including articles, reports, newspapers, etc. The process of finding empirical evidence is called empirical research. The main concern with empirical research is the collection of unbiased evidence. Researchers must carefully design the research while minimizing exposure to potential errors. In the scientific world, it is common that several scientists or researchers gather evidence simultaneously through the replication of the same study. In addition, a peer review is a primary tool in science that is used to validate the evidence provided in a study or research. We got you got two types of empirical evidence. You got qualitative and quantitative evidence. Qualitative evidence is the type of data that describes non-measurable information. Qualitative data is used in various disciplines, notably in social sciences, as well as in the market research and finance. In such fields, the research generally investigates human behavior and its patterns. The non-measurable nature of the qualitative data, as well as the subjective analysis, makes it prone to potential biases. Then you have quantitative evidence. And quantitative evidence refers to the numerical data that can be further analyzed using mathematical or statistical methods. Quantitative data is used in almost every discipline in science. Unlike qualitative data, the evidence obtained using quantitative data is generally considered to be unbiased, as the validity of the data can be easily verified using mathematical and statistical calculations or analysis. Sakai Kilimanjaro is really big at qualitative data. He's good with statistics. That's his profession as a PhD. Then you have the hierarchy of scientific evidence. I want to make sure that I'm very clear on this, and you've seen this probably on Dr. Maat's, a previous presentation of mine, and so forth. YouTube videos, personal anecdotes, gut feelings, parental instincts, some guy you know, websites, natural news, InfoWars, natural health warriors, collective evolution, Green Med, InfoQuest, Mercola.com, Well.to, etc. are not scientific evidence. You can only use, if you're using a YouTube video, hopefully it's sourced. Because if the video is sourced, then you can obtain the sources from the video, and then you can go behind the research and substantiate what was presented in that particular video. Most people will present some information and then they won't really give you a source. And then if they do give you a source and you go find out, you go substantiate the source, and you see that it wasn't saying exactly what was said in the video, then you probably are making a debunking video. All right, so hierarchy of scientific evidence, like I said before, case reports, opinion papers, and letters is weak. Animal trials and in vitro studies is a step above. Cross-sectional studies, case control studies, and cohort studies. You see what cohort studies are? That's right there. That's in almost at the apex of strong evidence right there. It's above cross-section studies and animal trials, but you getting somewhere when you got cohort studies because of the data implied that exists, that goes into that body of work. Randomized controlled trials, is right at that apex. It's where you double blind those trials and you come out with an unbiased approach. And then you have the meta-analysis and systemic reviews, which is, people going in, scrutinizing the work, trying to falsify the data, right? And you can't falsify it, and you can poke all the holes in it you want to, but if you can't falsify the overall conclusion of that data, it's sound. Types of scientific evidence, we talked about it earlier. And as you can see from the top to the bottom, it says the increasing strength of data going from the weakest to the strongest. And again, they have anecdotal or expert opinion. This person said that, or I had an experience with this. That would be anecdotal. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like Dr. Sabi said, take some herbs. That's the weakest form of evidence. Animal and cell studies, although you get great results from that, however, you still want to have supportive data. So you got case reports and case series, case control studies. Like I said, again, I want to make sure that we're clear. Cohort studies is where it's at. After cohort studies, then you have randomized you got randomized controlled trials, and then the systemic review, which is basically your attempt at falsifying all the evidence. That's the mountain of evidence that we're talking about right there. So people coming and we talking about, man, my auntie died of the vaccine. You know what I'm saying? How do you know that? What drew you to that conclusion? You're just saying this. Like the lady yesterday on by the way, I'm gonna be on black brown table tomorrow. This dude was just talking smack about, you know, the science and all of that, and he kept trying to challenge the information. He would ask a question, I would answer it, and then he would have a problem with it. So he got his ego in the way of it, and now we have to have a learning experience and teaching moment on our black brown table tomorrow. Now, I know it's a waste of time. I could be, you know, working on my book. I'm literally like a few chapters away from, you know, my rough draft of the book, and then going back and, you know, doing my due diligence there to get it out of a rough draft phase, and then getting it over to where I need to get it over to get everything worked up and ready. And, you know, going with the designing the cover and the whole nine. I could be doing that. I literally been working on my book since 7:45 this morning. And I just stopped before I did this presentation, and then typing some stuff in the back chat with Kofi now. But so that's been my whole day. Like literally, that's been my whole day. And I'm just finna get away from the laptop and kind of, you know, take my son to my cousin. His son's birthday was yesterday, so they going to bouncing and all that. So I'm gonna rock out with that. But my point is this: like the brother, you know, I'm gonna be doing this debate. The brother was talking mad crazy. He was saying a whole bunch of stuff, but his arguments was that he just kept on going in circles, never providing a solid foundation for his initial claim. He kept just throwing claim after claim after claim after claim after claim. And then when you try to answer those questions, then his ego got in the way. So it's just gonna be a teaching moment. Of course, I don't really have to prepare for what's going on with this guy. I already got the information lined up, and pretty much coach was trying to get a dude a week or so to get himself organized, but he let his ego get in the way. And what we're going to see, and the reason that I'm bringing it up, is because we're going to hear a lot of anecdotal, and this person said that from this particular person. And we're really not going to be able to see a true demonstration of or command of why this dude is saying some of the things that he's saying. His personal feelings is in the way. All right, so to strengthen the argument again with how strong your evidence should be, is pretty much the same old, same old. I'm not going to continue to go. This one's from left to right, with the right being the weakest and the left being the strongest. Right? It's the same thing. This is how scientific evidence is actually viewed, man. We can't get beyond that. There's no way around that. So conclusion, we can conclude that understanding the scientific evidence and methodology will help us organize the facts and better discern the difference between scientific evidence and information. Utilizing tools of science will help us understand how to resolve issues that exist in our lives. Currently, we are in the middle of a pandemic, and social media is allowing misinformation to run rampant. And by knowing how to utilize the scientific method, we can refute misinformation quickly and help promote sound evidence. Of course, you know I'm gonna brand it up. There we go. Since I put the sources at the bottom of each page, I didn't do a source page for that, but I wanted to keep it sweet and short. And as you can see, 25 minutes. What up, Pure? What up, Teddy? What's good? What up, Too Smooth? I see you, Chavers. Saru, what's good? I don't know who else could be potentially watching, but peace to everyone else who may be watching and not commenting. Let me see if I can catch up. He said I had to log out early on Pianki channel. The pseudoisms was a big crowd. Yeah, well, you know. Okay, y'all must have been on. Okay, y'all was on somebody else's channel. What was the topic about? He said they was even making me mad. I wasn't even on the panel. I want to see the changes. But y'all crazy. What was the topic of conversation though? I mean, I know there was a delay, but what was the topic? If y'all don't mind sharing that. And I will say this too, man. Since I've been working on my book, right? The amount of evidence is unique because when I'm trying to make an argument or put together some stuff, I'm trying to make sure that I leave enough supportive data for people to learn from, that without no question they can pull what it is up and get to it. Just in the last chapter that I just finished earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 sources in one chapter of my book. In the very first chapter, I used 21. I used 21 sources in the first chapter, 29 in the current chapter. I think the other ones might be 15, close to 20 as well. Like this has the potential of being like really close to 100 sources in this book, minimized. Oh, I was talking to some Christians on evolution. Oh boy, you crazy. You talking to Christians on evolution? Shh. Man, good luck. He says that was against macroevolution. Do they even understand what macroevolution is? It's hard to get Christians to understand, stand that because they're entrenched in their beliefs. They rather hold true to their belief than challenge their belief. So it's kind of it's difficult to kind of deal with. But yeah, man, I don't know if y'all have any questions or anything regarding that. Hold on, I'm trying to see something. Doo-doo. I'm trying to see something, man. Let me see if I can find. I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna have no big audience like y'all, bro. Look, I don't even like most people. I don't like most people. I don't even agree with half the people that be close to us and none of that. Maybe when I die, you know what I mean? Maybe when I die, like the kids, when they come into the information, they'll be the ones that learn the most from it. I ain't expecting nobody to. Man, what about the food, yo? I'm gonna have to make me a veggie burger or something. But nah, man, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm not gonna hold everybody up. I hope everybody was having a cooler day, you know what I mean? I don't think I wouldn't mind having somebody on here right now, but I don't think nobody want no smoke right now. You can go get Jeremiah. He don't understand what evidence is. That dude literally thought that he can think that. I mean, it's his right to think that. You can't tell people what to think. But it also shows some delusions in most people. Straight up. Screwed up. This place. Well, I don't like y'all website, homie. See what they get. But nah, man, if y'all ain't got no questions, yo, I'm up out of here. I'm up and out of here. On that note, y'all already know how it go.
Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, family. Connect Apparel and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on KofiPaisaTV.com.